What is up, everybody? My name is Jared Allison with JDA Florida Homes and Century 21 Alton Clark. I am a real estate agent, but I am also a photographer for Dronified Pilots. That is my photography company. We do aerials, ground photos, video, all that kind of good stuff. I just recently did a Twilight video talking about why you should have Twilights. However, I've been getting a lot of requests to actually show you how I made the Twilight. So if you want to find out, stay tuned. All right, everybody, let's jump right into it. Let me share my screen with you here. All right, so now we are in Lightroom, and so for these Twilights, we gotta have two kinds of photos. We gotta have one that's a little bit brighter than normal, and we gotta have one that looks like this, which just is normal looking photo, nothing special about it. So that's the normal one. Here's the brighter one. This is the one that we're gonna use to color in these garage lights and highlight these windows and everything like that. So we're going to start off. There's not a whole lot that we're going to do in Lightroom just yet. However, before we jump into Photoshop, we want to take this overexposed photo and we're going to take the temperature slider and we're going to warm it up. I like to warm it up all the way to the max. Just depends on the picture, but I know what the outcome is going to be on this photo. So I know that warming it up all the way is going to work out best for me in the end. It's just something that you're going to have to play around with to see what is going to work best. So we're going to take these two photos. I'm going to control click and highlight both of those photos and then right click. We're going to come up here to edit in, and we want to open those as layers in Photoshop. We don't want to just open them in Photoshop, but as layers in Photoshop. So that's going to take us over to Photoshop, and the layers are loading right now. So we've got a couple of things that we need to do before we really start jumping into what we're gonna get done, the actual Twilight. These layers over here, we're gonna highlight those, and I just control clicked on both of them. So we've gotta align these photos. So we're gonna come up to the edit menu, and then we're gonna hit auto align layers. So there's a bunch of different options. I'm not going to get into what those are and what they mean right now. We just want the auto option. Photoshop does a pretty good job figuring out what it needs to do. And what this is doing is it's taking the two photos and making sure that they're perfectly lined up with each other. So the next thing that we need to do is take the brighter photo, and we actually need to click on that, and we're going to drag it to the top. So now that we see the brighter photo. So we have that one highlighted. Now we need to create a layer mask. So we're going to go to layer mask, and then hide all. So what that does is it actually creates a mask, and that photo is still there, but it allows us to now go and color parts of this photo, color the brighter areas of the brighter photo onto this one. It'll make a little bit more sense once we start jumping into it. All right, so we're gonna start off using our paintbrush tool, and then you have your color selector here, and those are gonna be black and white, and I'll tell you why here in just a minute. Up here at the top, your opacity, I keep it at 100%. My flow, I'm actually gonna change that to, I usually start off with about 10%, 10 to 15%. You don't wanna go much higher than that unless you really are just trying to brighten something up, but 10% flow is a good starting point. Smoothing 8%, and the other settings I don't do anything with. All right, so first things first. Actually, there's one thing that we need to do prior to getting this stuff done. So we need to actually go in and get rid of some of these light streaks that are coming through. We're going to select that layer, that photo, and let's zoom in here, and we're going to start with the clone tool. So the clone tool allows you to take one area of the image and draw it or paint it onto another area of the image. And the way we do that is, let's say we want to paint this area right here. We hold down the alternate key, we get the crosshairs, and then we click. I'm going to make my brush just a little bit bigger. And then, so you can see, if we start painting right here, it's going to copy that over to here. So let's start painting. You can see that it's painting, and it even paints in that stain looking thing on the road. And we're just going to get rid of some of these highlights here. So then let's go do the same thing in the grass. And I'm just going to start painting. And I usually change my spot that I'm cloning every once in a while, just to, because otherwise you end up with these patterns that go through and it just doesn't look as natural as it should. Actually, we're going to grab that area and then we're just going to kind of paint up here. I'm going to come down a little more and we're just going to paint that up. Shrink my brush. And the way you make your brush bigger and smaller is using the bracket keys on your keyboard. So let's see, we're just going to do the best we can with this for now. I'm not going to make it perfect for this video just because, you know, if you're going to do this on your own, you'll come in here and make it, you know, a lot more detailed. And I tell you what, I've already showed you how to do it, so I'm going to speed up the video real quick, and so you don't have to sit through and watch me clear all this stuff out. All right, I'll be right back. All right, guys, I'm back. I just finished coloring in all the light streaks and getting rid of those. You can see here on the right-hand side and then the left-hand side, most of those are gone. I didn't spend a whole lot of time getting it perfect, but we got what we need for this picture. So the next thing we need to do is we're going to select that top layer, and then we're going to select that layer mask, and then we're going to come back over here to our brush tool, and our flow is at 10%. Smoothness or smoothing is at 8%. So we're going to start by coming in and turning on these lights. So obviously we're not at the house, so we can't go and flip a switch. So we're going to zoom in, and when I zoom in, I'm just using the alternate key on my keyboard and then using the scroll wheel on the mouse. All right, so we're going to start painting this in, and before you do this, you want to make sure that your box is here. So you got the white and the black. The white one is going to allow you to start coloring in the brighter photo, the one that you're creating the mask. So we're going to start coloring in these lights. All right, and I like to get just a little bit around just on the walls. That kind of gives it that glow effect because, you know, the light's putting off, it's emitting sort of a glow, and you kind of want to show that against the wall there. So let's zoom out. Let's see how that looks. That looks pretty good. And again, guys, I'm just kind of going through this pretty quickly just to give you an idea of how to do this, and then you can come back and perfect it if you like. Look at that, we got garage lights on. The next thing we're going to do is this window here. We want to go in and make it look like there's lights on inside the house. I am going to make my brush size just a little bit bigger, and then I'm just going to start painting. I'm going to start painting this in. Now I'm using a mouse to do this. If you have one of those, I don't know what you call them, but those pens that you can use on a pen pad, and then it's a little bit more accurate than using an actual mouse. But you can still do this with a mouse. I did. It works out pretty good for me. All right, so you can see how those lights are coming on. So, hey, look at that. It looks like we have lights on inside the house, and we didn't even do anything other than just paint that in. All right, so now we have the door back here. Decrease my brush size just a little bit. I'm gonna come and paint. I don't know, there's probably a light up here somewhere that's hanging in this area, but I don't remember if there was. But for the purpose of this video, we're gonna say that there was. I'm gonna make that a little bit bigger. And we're gonna color this door in. All right, and all the way. And then the way I usually check it is I usually zoom. I zoom out, see how that looks. Yeah, that looks pretty good. If you really want to get technical with it, you could come back and you could add some highlighting to these windows over here, but we're not going to do that. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to come back and we're going to highlight again by pressing Control and clicking on both of those layers, and then we're going to right click and we're going to find Flatten Image. So what that does is it combines everything and into one layer. So now we can't go back in and paint anything else or anything. But what we're going to do now is we're going to come up here to edit. So Photoshop actually has a really nice and easy sky replacement tool, and it's in the edit menu and then sky replacement. And it takes a second. because it's figuring out, okay, where do I put the sky? And I actually think that sky looks pretty good, but you can come in, it has some default skies that you can select. Let's see what else they have here. So there's a number of different skies that you can pick from, but I kind of like that first one that we had here. So let's mess around with that one. Let's see if it looks good the other way. No, I kind of like it that way. So I think that looks pretty good. So we're gonna click OK, and then Photoshop does everything that it needs to do as far as adding the mask, and you want to come through and actually check your photo and make sure that Photoshop didn't put the sky on top of the house and things like that. If it did, you have to go in and tweak that out, but that's for another video. But it usually does a pretty good job at getting everything done. Let's see. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to hit Control S, and that's going to save this file as a .tif file, and then it should drop it right back into Lightroom. So we're back in Lightroom now. So here's the photo that we just edited in Photoshop. Here's the other two photos that we took into Photoshop. Normally you would have presets and things like that to go in here and change all of your sliders for Twilight, and then you'd come in and start tweaking them. But tell you what, let's just go and start messing with some of these, and I think the highlights are right about where they need to be. I'm going to bring those shadows up just a tad, bring these blacks down just a little bit here. I think that's starting to look pretty good. I might bring those highlights down. We're going to bring this contrast up to give it that little bit more of a nighttime feel here. Yeah, I kind of liked it back down there. And then the texture, that's really going to make it pop there. And then even the clarity. I mean, if that's the kind of style you're looking for, I try to keep it a little bit more realistic when I'm doing these. So I don't want to go overboard. And then obviously you can make it look more like a painting if you went all the way to the max on the clarity here. But I think somewhere about +7 is pretty good. Dehaze, I don't think we really need any of that, so we're going to keep that at 0. Vibrance, I mean, you can play with that and depending on what you like. And then saturation, again, it's just one of those things, you know, are you looking for that real orangey look or not? So I think that actually looks pretty good. And so I mean, you can see the door back here, and then you would just export this photo into a JPEG or whatever kind of file you're looking for, and then that's it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you have better ways to do Twilights or something, please let me know down in the comments. I'm always looking to learn to hone my skills in, or if I did something different than how you did it, let me know. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more like this, be sure to follow my page and subscribe to my YouTube channel and all that kind of good stuff. But or if you're looking to sell a house, buy a house, give me a call. All right guys, we'll see you next time. Bye.
You ain't seen nothing like this.